r/AskReddit by Laugh with Mims. What is the creepiest thing you've seen in the woods, or in the mountains, or in deserts, or caves, or in small towns, or in remote or rural areas, or while on large bodies of water, or while on an aircraft or a nautical vessel? When I was about 7 or 8, my parents sent me to a local summer camp that they would pick me up from in the afternoons. I never really liked it because the kids were mean. Everything was either broken or not clean, and the counselors obviously didn't care. I remember the girls' changing room had a door that lead out to the woods, but the door knob was gone, so it was unlocked all the time and you could see into it. This was primarily where the girls changed into their bathing suits, and there was usually someone blocking the view while we changed, so the boys couldn't look in. Well, one day I'm changing alone and someone wasn't blocking the door. I look over and see an eye peeping in through the hole watching me change. I pull the rest of my clothes back on quickly and run out to tell my twin brother. I tell my dad that I don't want to go back to that camp anymore, and he begrudgingly takes us out of the camp pretty soon after because he knew how much he hated it. Years later, the camp has been closed down for many years, and I'm asking my dad about it. He gets really grim and tells me it shut down because a 13-year-old boy had raped 7-year-old girl in the woods right behind the girls' bathroom a few weeks after I had told him about someone watching me change. I'd been at football training with a few of my cousins when I was about 10 years old. We decided to take a walk before our parents picked us up, so we went along the canal towpath. My cousin looked down in the canal and saw a really nice jacket floating along, and being a weird scavenger person decided to reach in to fish it out. Well, the jacket turned over. And so did the man wearing it. He also had no face left. Not gonna lie, that was rough. This took place in the Australian bush around 10:11 at night. I was 17, leading a staggered column of about 60 cadets to our detachment campsite. Due to light discipline rules, only myself at the very front of the group and the other flight commander at the rear had torches on. This was so that any vehicles coming along the trail could see us, and so that most of the cadets could maintain their night vision. We were camouflaged up, and thus difficult to see at night. As we walked along, I periodically looked to my sides and kept seeing what looked like dewdrops on the ground. Almost like tiny blue gems glinting in my torchlight either side of the road point. I had to maintain my position in the formation, so I couldn't get a good look at what they were. However, after a while we stopped for a very brief break, and I took the opportunity to have a closer look. Walking over to the side of the trail, I spotted a small cluster of the diamonds and focused my head torch on them. Rather than seeing diamonds or dewdrops or anything remotely pleasant, I instead saw a group of about 5 large spiders just crouching in the leaf litter and staring at me. They looked like huntsmen's, which are about the size of an adult's hand. Sweeping my head around, I realized there were thousands of the things. All over the ground, some on the trunks of trees, and everywhere around me, glaring at the light affixed to my head. I had a very brisk walk back to the formation, and attempted to play it cool, while screaming in my head. Being a massive arachnophobe, I have no fucking clue how I managed to set up a tent, and spend the next week in that cursed forest. My girlfriend and I were hiking along some abandoned railroad tracks, and we get to a small bridge going over a little creek. I'm about to go explore under the bridge when she points something out. I look over, and in the woods across from us, I see a guy. Him like whatever, and keep headed down to the creek area, and then the guy stands up and he's naked. We immediately backtrack pretty quickly to get away from there, and once we're like 1 minute down the trail, I look back and this naked dude is just standing in the middle of the trail watching us walk away. I cannot adequately explain how much this bothers me, while also giving me about 100 different questions. Do you think he would have advanced on you if you hadn't moved? Did he look malicious or just plain insane? Man, good thing there were 2 of you. Naked people out in the middle of woods probably don't give a about much. Just the fact that he followed us up to the trail as we were leaving made me think he might have advanced on us if we were closer. It was all around just bizarre. He mostly looked crazy, had really disheveled hair and a large messy beard which just really brought the whole look together. I was a cook on board several NOAA research ships. Up in the Bering Sea, I saw what appeared to be a massive, black, triangular-shaped craft dive under the water. I viewed it from a distance of maybe 2 nautical miles. Is this why we haven't seen the Dark Knight ship on schedule? I was hiking in northern Quebec, doing some exploration work for geologists. The thing about northern Quebec is that it has forests, mountains, hills. Pretty much all green, black, and grey. Except that in the middle of a forest we hiked through, we found this strange all yellow patch of grass in a perfect circle. About the diameter of a medium-sized house. It was almost perfectly flat too. Caught us off guard. Maybe lightning struck there. Was walking beans one day and found 2 perfect circles in the field. Turns out it was lightning. Not sure if that explains the yellow though. I was walking with family when I was little and we came across a sheep's head. No body or blood, just a severed sheep's head on the path. It was the first time I noticed sheep's eyes have slit pupils, and I think my first contact with something so gruesome. I've walked by a picked clean spinal column before in the woods. It wasn't far from a little girl's shoe upon closer inspection. And moving debris with a stick, it was definitely a quadriped spine like a deer, and the shoe probably carried by a flood cause that creek overflowed and carried weird shit downstream frequently. Definitely ominous at first, thinking I'd stumbled upon evidence that something terrible had happened. Why yes officer, I did say the dead little girl had antlers. Why do you think I called you? I was Boy Scout, camping with my group of older buddies and an adult leader in Yellowstone. We had been backpacking for 2 days and stopped in a beautiful little clearing at the bottom of some huge tree-covered hills. The sun started to set, we made a fire, and I began to climb up into the trees to dig a hole and fill it back up. You know what I mean. As I squat there, basking in moonlight and appreciating the glow of fire among the trees, I looked up to a ridgeline a few hundred yards away where the moon was rising, and I shit you not, I saw a damn big cougar crest the hill and just watch our fire. It was likely no danger to me, but seeing that outline, that unmistakable shoulder crawl they do, was haunting. I watched it sit there for a good 15 minutes, until I was called back by my worried butts. I pointed the cat out at them when I got done, because it was still just watching us. Crazy. So did you bang her, or what? I've not seen this one. It wasn't his step cougar, so he wasn't turned on enough to go through with it. Truth. I found a woman's body floating in a harbor in San Pedro, California. I know a guy who was out boating and found a body in the water. The police told him to send a picture to the Coast Guard. He used the number he thought they gave and got a text back going, what the hell is that? Needless to say, he had not texted the Coast Guard. Edit, hot damn, anon. Thanks for the gold. Lol, wrong number, sorry at the dead person you saw. Is that a dead body? Lol, who dis? Some random dead guy I found. Wanna come chill? In order to get back home from a popular kebab restaurant, I need to walk a short path through the woods. Along the way there is an extremely old abandoned partially collapsed chapel, and occasionally I'll stand there for a few seconds admiring it. It's quite beautiful in its own way. One day during winter season I decided to rest there for a minute, so I placed my kebab on the bench right next to the chapel and just stood there taking in the scenery. It was already rather dark and the woods were almost completely silent, but right as I was about to continue my walk I heard footsteps rapidly getting louder. It was a child running towards me, and as soon as it realized I was there it started to repeatedly scream, "Run, he is coming," or variations of that same sentiment. I was a bit perplexed by the situation, so I watched the child run past me without moving an inch myself. It didn't take another second for a much more weighty pair of footsteps to appear. I could make out a silhouette in the distance which seemed to be their origin, and at that exact point in time I got really scared. As opposed to running, I decided to hide in the chapel next to the altar, and after tripping over an old broken chapel bench I reached my hiding place. The footsteps got louder and louder, but right as they approached the vicinity of the chapel they suddenly went silent. About 15 seconds of complete quietness had passed, just for the words "oh I idiot left your kebab on the bench" to break the silence. Turns out it was a resident of the very same street I inhabit. His nephew was visiting, and he wanted to race him to the kebab stand. I don't know whether this was the right place to post this. Ultimately, this is more stupid than creepy. Please like and subscribe for more. This is Laugh with Mims. Goodbye.